every one of you. And we're glad that you have joined today. We're very happy that we have with us Nnaumrata. A warm welcome to you, Nnaumrata, and we look forward to listening to you. Now, as all of you know, we keep our phones on silent because this is being recorded. So kindly keep your phones on silent. There will be no questions in between. But when Nnaumrata has completed, then you may unmute yourself and ask the questions. Okay? As customary, we will start with the school prayer. It's over to you, Ramesh.
Thank you, Sajani. So the school prayer is a very special prayer and basically focuses on the fact that we're all a soul and we're not this body. So please sit straight with your back, neck, and head aligned as I read this prayer, the school prayer. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other.
Thank you, Ramesh. We now go on to our interreligious prayers, and we begin with the Gayatri Mantra.
So remaining in the straight position with the back, neck, and head aligned. Take a deep breath. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Ramesh. We now have, I don't think the others have joined, so we will have the Christian prayer and then the Sikh prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Ramesh. We now have the Zoroastrian Prayer by Meher.
Sajani, you surprised me.
It doesn't matter. It's only a prayer because Prani is not there.
Okay. Ejma guna patet pashimanum yatahu varyo ataratush ashatachit sachavangevush dajda maningo shote nanam angevush masdai kachitaramchai aurai ayam dare gopyo dadadvastarem ashem bahu vaistemasti ushtasti ushta amai yatashai vaista yasham yatha tarimadad Hashem Taro Asro, Sarosh Bad Panabat. Sarosh Yazad Panabat. Thank you.
Meher, we now have Gulu Advani, the Sikh prayer.
Kunkar Satnam Karta Purakh Nirbhav Nirvair Akal Murat Ajoni Saibang Gur Prasad Jap Ad Sach Jugad Sach Hai Bhi Sach Nanak Ho Se Bhi Sach सोचे सोच न होवई जे सोचे लखवार, चुपे चुप न होवई जे लाए रहा लिवतार, बुखिया बुख न उतरी जे बन्ना पुरिया भार, सह स्याणा पालक होवई त इक न चले नाल, किव सचियारा होइए किव कूरे टूटे पाल, हुक्म रजाई चल रहा नानक लिखिया नाम। वाहिगुरु जी दा खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी दी फतेह। बोले सो निहाल, सत श्री अकाल।
Thank you, Gulu.
Sachu,
Now, yes,
Sajani,
tell me.
this is Kashmir. I just
Yes,
want to let everyone know it's your birthday today. Happy birthday,
please
Sachu.
do.
We love you
Thank you,
very much
Kashmira.
and
That
we wish you
wasn't
a
what you were
long, happy,
supposed to
healthy
say.
life.
Happy birthday, Sajani. Didn't know that.
Thanks, everyone.
Happy birthday, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we will go on to introduction of our speaker. I request Veena Satish to kindly introduce our speaker.
Please turn the video on, Veena.
Veena, kindly introduce our speaker.
I see.
Your voice is very feeble, Veena. You could just
We can't hear.
We don't have a very strong internet here.
A little louder.
We don't have a very good internet here. Sometimes we have a problem. Internet. So I'll do my best. Can you see me?
we can't see you either.
Well, somebody
No
will
audio, no video. Ramesh, will you take over?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, Veena. I'll do it. We're not able to see you or hear you properly, you see. Right. So we have a very nice speaker with us today, Nnaumrata Arora ji. Welcome to the School of Ancient Wisdom in Sathsang. Nnaumrata Arora is the founder and director of Zemnya Foundation, an inactive system, earlier Life Beyond Motherhood, circle convener, conscious living coach, workshop leader, spiritual eco-feminist writer, systems thinking researcher, and an international speaker. She is the author of various blogs and articles and the Possibility of Balance, which is a guidebook for mothers. Life Positive magazine's 24th anniversary edition, released in India in April 2020, named her as one of the 14 faces driving social change in India. Her vision is to awaken this feminine spirit for a planetary transformation of consciousness. So thank you so much for being with us today, Nnaumrata ji. I'm looking forward to hearing you speak. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Ramesh. And now it's over to you, Nnaumrata.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Wish you a very happy birthday, Sajani
Thank
ji.
you so much.
What an honor and privilege to be here, and what a beautiful beginning already with the wonderful prayers that I really enjoyed. So thanks a lot for that. I'll be sharing a presentation which is more to guide our discussion, and I would encourage all of us, if there are some questions that come to your mind, please feel free to type them in the chat window, and we can take them up towards the end or as the flow goes. So we'll keep it, fairly open. This is not a topic which is an expertise for anyone. We are all learning. So I want to put that disclaimer as we start. And I want to start with gratitude to my teachers and my family, to the Charter for Compassion, which introduced me to my current work that I'm doing, hosting circles, and the participants of happiness circles, who were a bunch of elderly women whom I started convening at my home in Mumbai, the Mind and Life Institute, with whom I have learned so much, and the School of Ancient Wisdom for hosting me, and all of you who are present here today. So a deep bow of gratitude before we get started. So I want to start a discussion on what really is aging. I know there are so many interpretations and so many images which come to our mind, which might also be the reason why some people chose to not join today, because they may not be able to relate with what aging is. They may think, okay, we are not there yet, maybe, or we are very far away from aging. But actually, aging is an ongoing process. So I'd invite you to type your thoughts in the chat window if you'd like. You can even share by unmuting your mic. But the reason why we want to address this is because aging is a process which is to be looked at through multiple dimensions. One is our body is getting old, so there is a biological aging which we cannot do anything about. But there is also a process of our mental aging and our all faculties, our senses. Everything starts to slow down after a certain point in our lives. Now, is that good or bad? We don't know, but it is definitely inevitable. And what we make of it is really up to us. And today we are going to talk a bit about how do we make sure that aging is a happy journey and it is not something that we shy away from or we try and deny, which a lot of us would like to do, to say, no, I'm not old. No, I'm not old. That's not my age. But we embrace it as a natural process. So the other part of our session today is really the happiness part. So how to age with happiness. So what is happiness? That is the other question that comes up. So happiness is not really about smiling all the time. You see that smiley flag, but that's torn in the end. So we can smile, but that doesn't always mean that we are happy, right? So happiness is not a moment's joy only. It is an ongoing state of mind, really. And there are so many ways in which happiness can come about, and we'll talk a bit about that. But mostly it's like a decision. Being happy is a decision, and we can talk a bit about that as we go along. So why are we talking about this topic first of all? Why is aging with happiness important? Well, the UN General Assembly declared this decade that we are in already as the decade of healthy aging. And it is ironic that we are still in the times of the pandemic, and there is so much going on with social distancing, with the ongoing isolation, with our disconnection with each other, with the war that we know of, the deforestation. There are so many things happening in the planet that are taking a toll on our mental and physical well-being. So all the more reason we need to be addressing this whole idea of happiness. So to understand happiness, it's important to understand what causes unhappiness to begin with. So this is where I would like to take a pause and ask our participants. I'm going to stop the sharing just for a few minutes. What causes unhappiness in your view? What makes you unhappy? So if you can share from your own experience and journey, that would be more useful rather than any generic comments. So anyone would like to share? Yes. So Rameshji has shared, I think, about aging, the system which allows us to return these material bodies back to this school called Earth, emotionally and spiritually. It can mean a higher level of comfort with oneself and a more self-aware individual, oftentimes, not all. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So causes of unhappiness, somebody has written endless desires. Yes, definitely. What are some of the other causes? What makes us unhappy? Misunderstandings, yes. When one's awareness is disturbed from one's natural state, it can lead to unhappiness. That's right. Yes. So someone says also greed, too much expectation. Definitely. Expectation is a very big part. So someone says that suffering is argument with reality. So let's just think about it for a moment. People are saying, things like loneliness, comparing with others, yes, overthinking, absolutely. So if suffering is an argument with reality, can we take a moment and think about what are the realities in our lives that we are having trouble accepting? So can you identify those things which we want to continue to change? We're all the time fighting with it. No, this is not how it should be. No, but you should be doing it this way. But that should have been done that way, right? The moment we are fighting with reality, we are arguing with reality, we are actually bringing on suffering, and that leads to unhappiness. Loneliness leads to unhappiness, and loneliness is a huge part of what is going on. It's, in fact, a bigger epidemic than the coronavirus itself, for sure. Reality is like relationships, health, and money. Yes. Now, there has been a study. There's, in fact, a course which is offered. It's called The Science of Happiness by the UCLA, the Berkeley, in the US. And it has some very interesting findings. So, we are raised to believe that, you should follow a certain life path and everything will be fine. So you just make sure you start earning money. When we start earning money, we say, okay, now let's buy a car. Okay, we are happy now, but we are not. We still need to do the next thing. Okay, now get married. Okay, now you have children. Okay, now let the children go to college. Okay. So we keep achieving these milestones, but somewhere we are still not happy. We are still looking for, okay, but what about my work? Can my work be better? Can that be better? Can this be better? We are always trying to find that, one loophole. And the reason why the temporary happiness feels so incomplete is because of something that was mentioned in fact, the School of Ancient Wisdom Prayer, as we started today, is our forgetting of our oneness and our interconnectedness with each other and with the planet. We forget that and we separate ourselves from the other, and we start having expectations. We start feeling lonely. We start believing that we are not loved, we are not liked. We start thinking that we are incomplete. Our health deteriorates, our relationships, are sour. And all that really has a huge impact on our happiness and well-being. We are not grateful, absolutely. We forget to have gratitude. Actually, a lot of times when everything is going fine, we forget to be grateful because we are just so caught up. We are so busy doing what we don't know. From morning till night, we are just busy like a clock. Okay, now this person has to go there. Let's pack the lunch, clean the house, do this, do that. Everybody is busy. And I know a lot of people who are very busy even watching TV. The whole day they can sit and watch TV. They are very busy. But we forget to be grateful. So that is definitely something. These are some of the things that lead to unhappiness. And a very big part is health. Yes, we are not healthy mostly because we have not resolved so many emotions inside of us because we've not had the time. We're so busy, we don't prioritize all these aspects, and the health goes for a toss. Money is very interesting also. So the thing about money is not having money makes us unhappy. But if we have enough money, it does not guarantee happiness. So we can have loads and loads of money, but we might still be very lonely. We might feel miserable because money does not guarantee happiness. So the Science of Happiness course that I was talking about, it actually says that getting married is not a guarantee that you will be happy. In fact, they studied so many couples and they found that you are the happiest in your relationship when you marry after 30 years old. Now, most of us actually have married much before that. That is the truth. The other thing they found is that the benefit that we get from getting married in terms of happiness is the end of life companionship, which need not always be associated with the marriage, actually, from a happiness standpoint. The other thing they found is that when you have children, that doesn't guarantee happiness. Why? Because it depends so much on the context. By being a parent, we have more responsibility. We are not necessarily, blessed with a very good support system. There may be health issues, there may be finance issues. So it actually could cause a lot of stress. But if we have everything sorted, then yes, it can be too. So none of these things that we have been taught lead to happiness actually give us lasting happiness, right? So I just wanted to share that context a little bit before we move forward. And I'll now just reshare my slides and we can talk about it. And if along the way you feel there is something that you would like to share, some thoughts come up, please do feel free to put them in the chat and we'll pick that up. So what do? We find instant happiness solutions. Now, this is the age of instant gratification. For everything, we want instant results. So some of the things that we do are what? And please type in the chat window, what do you do for instant happiness? So one of the things I do, I know, is I have dark chocolate. So that gives me instant happiness. It's important also to be aware of what you do. Some people will watch TV, you know, like a joke, or they'll watch something funny. Make someone else happy. Yes, absolutely. That's beautiful. That is a sure way of making ourselves happy. And there's research to corroborate that. You sleep. Yes. Well, sleeping can give us happiness. If it is adding to our rest, we feel relaxed. Yes, we will feel happy. To me, instant happiness is experiencing the beauty of nature. Yes, wonderful. Listening to music. Absolutely. So these are instant ways of making us happy. We can be happy in that moment, and then what happens? And then something comes up, like a trigger comes up. You know, somebody in our surroundings, they will start saying something, doing something. Immediately, we forget about our happiness and we get into that downward spiral. We become angry, we become stressed, we remember about our responsibilities, and we lose our thread of happiness. Amazon Prime movies. Yes, sure. I'm sure they'll be very happy to listen to your feedback. But the point about this is that it is only temporary. Our instant happiness solutions are only temporary. You know, in Denmark, they actually have a very interesting concept. I'm typing it in the chat window. It's called Hygge. Hygge is, and there is a book also by this name. You can look it up. They actually have a whole system of doing things which lead to happiness. So they are very nice, small little things, like, you know, snuggle up with something soft. And those who have children, I would definitely recommend you try and, you know, look up this book. It's a very useful guide. Hot chocolate, drinking hot chocolate is part of it. And, you know, sitting around a candlelit table, or cooking something together. They even have recipes for things you can cook which make you happy, right? Food makes people happy. So a lot of times when we are sad or depressed, we'll just overeat. We'll order this and that and the other, and, you know, as a result of which we will feel very full, but it will only give us temporary happiness because the food is finished. And, you know, now it is inside the stomach and now we can't taste it anymore. So it's important to realize that our sensorial happiness is only temporary. You know, what we receive from our senses. So all that you described, watching, listening, feeling, like maybe, you know, you hug somebody, you feel happy. So the touch aspect, the taste aspect, the food. So all these sensorial experiences, they give us only temporary happiness. But lasting happiness requires something else. And that's what we will now explore. So let's also understand what are the factors affecting our happiness, right? So there has to be a system around happiness. Happiness doesn't come like that. It's like God has given you a blessing. Okay, now you are happy. You know, even that won't last because we have to sustain it. So some factors which affect our happiness, they include our environment. Our environment is right from the city we stay in to the kind of locality we stay in to the kind of neighborhood, the house we stay in. All of that is a big part of our happiness. So for example, somebody who's staying in a very green area, their level of happiness is bound to be higher technically. There may be some other factors, but generally you can say bound to be higher than somebody who's staying in a very, very urban kind of an area in the center of a city which is polluted and highly noisy. Now, a lot of times we feel we cannot choose our environment, but we know that during the last couple of years, a lot of people have actually moved their homes. In fact, some of you might even be on this call today who may have actually shifted with your family to some other place, which is quieter, which is, much better, away from the city. A lot of people are making that choice because it adds to your happiness levels and it reduces your stress level. So the environment definitely has a big part on our happiness. People living in very polluted cities will also have more health issues. And health, if it deteriorates, it will impact our happiness. So it does impact our happiness in a big way. Food we discussed, so it is a big source of happiness. Again, having that home cooked meals, and for some of us it's that indulgence of the favorite dish that we like chola bhatura or whatever. You really, the moment you think about that food, you feel. So for some, food is definitely a part of our happiness. Not getting enough food, not getting good quality food, not getting tasty food, for children for example who may be studying away from their homes, they miss the food, so it actually makes them unhappy to not have that kind of nourishing food which nurtures them. Okay, social connections is a very big part of our happiness, and again this was a research conducted by Harvard, a longitudinal study of people whom they it in fact, I think the study went on for 75 years. It's possibly the longest ever study because they tried to look at the lives of people who had higher longevity. So what made them live longer? How were they different from the others? And they found that it is the quality of our social connections that plays a huge part in our happiness. And by social connections, we don't mean, going to weddings or parties or, how many people I have in my network, how influential they are. No. So social connections really means the authentic connections with whom we feel understood, with whom we feel we resonate. So when we have more of those social connections, we feel nurtured and our likelihood of living longer actually increases. And sadly, because of the pandemic, this has been a part which has been impacted the most. And it is the most concerning, which is why it needs to be addressed on a very urgent basis. We need to create more and more spaces that enable social connections. And in fact, that is the key part of the work that I am doing in my research and otherwise. And we can talk more about it offline if any of you are interested. But I do encourage you to think more about how you can enable more such spaces in your area of influence. Health does impact our happiness. We've spoken about that. If you are healthy, you will generally be able to do more things. If you are an active person, you'll be able to go cycling, swimming, and these things, because they help you in movement, they actually keep you happy. So movement is a very big part of happiness, and again has been deeply impacted by the pandemic because people are staying indoors because of the fear, and that is further resulting in not just physical issues but also mental issues. So movement is extremely critical for our overall well-being and for happiness. Finances, we spoke about it. So having a certain amount is important, but if we have more than that, it's no guarantee that we will be happy. Meaning is a very left out aspect of happiness. And many of us, as we age, we kind of lose touch with that aspect unless we get into spirituality or we start giving back to the society or get involved in social change. But for many people, I find that their lives get limited to just being in the house, to taking care of themselves, the house responsibilities, children, grandchildren, and that's it. And when we are constantly doing the same things over and over again, we feel a certain emptiness inside. And that is essentially a need for us to have more meaning in our life. So yes, somebody wrote about, having a purpose or a hobby. Yes. Now, the thing with meaning is that it goes beyond ourselves. So, for example, you love art or you love sculpture, right? So you can make a lot of sculptures and keep them at home. That may not fulfill kind of that need for meaning. But if, for example, you are creating sculptures to create awareness about something, or making art, or teaching somebody art and bringing out potential in some people who haven't been able to express themselves as well as you have. Making that kind of a difference will make you feel more meaningful. So that finding out of the meaning is so important during our middle age, because as we age, there are very few people who are able to sustain their motivation levels to be able to find that meaning. So that's another aspect I did want to highlight. And finally, the most important one, and again, something we will talk a bit about today, is our habits. Our habits are very, very important in terms of our happiness levels. So can anyone share, what are some of the habits that you feel create unhappiness, or what are some of the habits which can lead to happiness? Can any of you share any examples from your personal lives or anything that you have observed before we move forward?
Reading, meditation,
Yes,
exercise,
wonderful.
playing with grandchildren.
Yes, definitely. Yes, anyone else? Somebody says timekeeping. Yes, can you talk a bit about this? How would timekeeping be a habit that leads to happiness?
Good evening, ma'am. Timekeeping, I would say we have to have a particular time for all the things, whatever we are doing. We have to follow it
Okay.
in a way that our children also follows the same thing. So that would make us happy and the family happy, I believe.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So having a schedule every day, in fact, planning for it a day before and keeping to that schedule, especially sleep time. And there's research to now show that if you sleep and get up at a fixed time every day, it actually keeps things like anxiety, depression away. It leads to a more balanced mind and body. So somebody said cleanliness,
Time,
body, mind, and spirit. That's
time out in the nature.
yes,
Go to the mountains, go to the shore,
yes,
go to the forest.
beautiful,
That brings immense connectivity to nature
perfect.
and brings in a lot of gratitude.
Yes, absolutely. Someone has also mentioned gardening and trekking. Yes, absolutely. So both are outdoor activities. Trekking because it immerses us in nature. It keeps us moving. You discover things. There's a feeling of awe every time you find like a new insect somewhere, or climb a new hill or a mountain or whatever. And gardening, in fact, working with the soil is known to increase our levels of B12. And B12 is the vitamin which actually is responsible for our moods, happiness level. So if you know of somebody who's depressed, going through depression, try and see if they can start working with the soil. It's very, very powerful, because we are really then connecting back with the earth. And there is again so much deep science about chakras and energy healing and how that brings about a balance in our body. So definitely gardening is a wonderful thing. Watching something grow, being able to water it on a regular basis, seeing how life emerges. It's a beautiful experience. Having a disciplined life, yes. Disciplined, yes, but with some level of, leeway. So you are able to still have fun, do the things. So some people I know go overboard in terms of discipline. No, I have to, at this time, I want to have tea. At this time, I will, get up and do this. Well, there are some days when it's okay to just let it go. Okay, today, no newspaper, fine. Okay, today, something fine. Yes, for the most part, absolutely, one must. But sometimes when it is required, it's okay to have exceptions. Not being too rigid is always good. Expecting nothing, yes, that's definitely a wonderful way of being, for sure. Traveling, yes. And again, with traveling is this feeling of awe, which, comes up when we discover new things and new places, like those aurora lights in the sky. It's so important to expose our children to these things. If we are able to take them out in nature and ourselves also, just sit and observe different types of leaves, plants, just lie down on the grass and watch the sky, watch the stars, watch the clouds. I do that often. I actually do cloud watching after my yoga practice in the morning. I watch the clouds, and that's just a very relaxing experience. doing service to the society, singing, wonderful, yes. So again, things like singing, they're actually very related to our energy and our chakras. Even writing, I would say, anything which brings out expression, art, singing, writing, dancing. And dancing is not something which has to be very traditional, like only do the Odissi dance or Kathak. You can just do Bollywood dance, just do like Sufi whirling. It's so beautiful. And it's actually not very difficult once we get to learn it. There are just so many wonderful things. So just finding that balance is really important. Satsangs. Yes, wonderful. And you're here, so that's perfect. Hopefully it's adding to your happiness. Okay, so what is the key to a happy life? Yes, let's talk about it. Great. The happy morning. So we start with breaking down our day. How can we make our day happy? And if we make every day happy, how can we lead a happy life? That's really what it is all about, right? Because who knows about tomorrow? Nobody knows. But at least I made my today happy, and that's important. So we get up with an intention. You get up, okay, today I am going to be happy. So you set that intention. This is a happy day. I'm going to be happy and spread happiness. And most of the times we don't do that. We forget to smile. A lot of times we get up with stress, especially I work a lot with mothers, and when we have young children, we're all the time stressed out. Oh my God, oh, we are late for the school, or this was not done, I need to pack the lunch, and blah blah. We forget to smile, and the children are then stressed out because we pass on the stress to our children. So as we get up, take a moment, look at the mirror, smile, literally lift up your lips and smile, and say to yourself that this is a happy day. I am going to make this a great day. Set that intention. And gratitude, like we said, because 1 million people won't get up tomorrow morning. It will be their last day. So the fact that we've gotten up is a wonderful reason to be grateful. So we express gratitude. Yoga is my go-to thing. It could be anything for anyone. It could be a walk. It could be Tai Chi. It could be anything that works for you. It could be swimming. It could be tennis, sports. But whatever gets you moving is important. It could be cycling. And cycling, by the way, is wonderful, supported by research. It actually helps in reducing dementia, Alzheimer's as you grow older. So if you know cycling, please try and cycle for a few minutes every day, morning, evening, ideally, but at least once a day. Inspiration. So some of us have this habit of listening to these very nice bhajans, music. Please do not watch the news if you are in the habit, is my advice. But you don't need to take it only because it's not inspiring. A lot of times we know that the news that comes to us has been filtered and it creates so much fear, anxiety in us. It does not create happy people, for sure. If you want to watch the news, by all means, log into something, watch it and switch it off. But at least let's not start our day with the news that is being given to us by somebody else. Let's be purposeful about how we start our day. So inspirational talks, going in nature, somebody already mentioned that. Reading newspaper, WhatsApp and Facebook, yes, all of those not ideal. It's in fact now advised that when we are sleeping, keep all your gadgets on airplane mode, switch off the Wi-Fi and put them outside your room. Do not use your phone for an alarm. We have those old alarm clocks, they are perfect. Because the moment we get up looking at the screen of the phone, it's very harmful to the eyes. That's the first thing. But the other thing is also it tempts us to start looking at WhatsApp, Facebook. Okay, now let's see who sent me a message. What did I miss while I was sleeping? Let everything happen. It's okay. Nothing. First, so my spiritual teacher talks about this hour of power in the morning. So 20 minutes inspiration, 20 minutes perspiration, and 20 minutes meditation. So if we can have an hour of power, our entire day is set. But again, it's up to us. How do we create that? Yes, please do avoid newspapers, news channels, and minimize television. I know people who the moment they get up, they switch on the television. So it actually aggravates and accelerates dementia and Alzheimer's. So please minimize your watching usage of screen, especially as we are growing older, because it's not helpful at all. So then after the morning, what do we do? You know, like I know a lot of people who say, okay, I've done all the work, now what do? I have nothing to do. Well, there are so many things we can do, and here is the list. You can share your gifts. By sharing your gifts, I don't mean open your cupboard and start giving people what you have, but I really mean, you know, all the gifts and skills and experiences you've gathered over the years. So for example, you know, cycling, you could teach somebody how to cycle. You have learned how to replace a tire, you can teach somebody that. You can just, you know, if you, I know somebody who's 80 plus and she loves jokes. So the moment you go and meet her, she'll start telling you jokes, and I have never met her without laughing. So that's a gift, right? So please share your gifts through the day. Find meaningful work to do. We spoke about meaning. It's important to find something that makes a difference to somebody's life, because that's the legacy we leave behind. Now, for some people, meaningful work could also be write an autobiography. I want to leave something for my grandchildren. Sure, do that. For some people, it might mean learn a new skill. You know, it might mean helping out somebody else in the house or taking care of someone who's unwell. Whatever makes you feel fulfilled, that you're doing something meaningful, please do that. But please find out what is to be done. Creation of any kind is wonderful for happiness. So whether we are writing or we are making something with our hands like pottery, or we are cooking, and you know, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, whatever, just get engaged in creating something. Authentic conversations, we spoke about social connections. So yes, we show up at all these social gatherings, but try and have less and less of those, you know, conversations which need you to be somebody who you are not, and try and engage more and more in authentic conversations. So go to restaurants less and do potlucks more. Cook food more and buy food less. And it's something that works for everybody, but it's just wonderful to set that example. Forgiveness is a very important aspect, and I have put it as a separate point, because as we grow older, we carry so many things inside of us. And like we said, that is what manifests as diseases, you know, later on. So just keep forgiving people, because when we are not there, and it could be tomorrow, hopefully not, hopefully we all live to be 100 years. But if it is tomorrow that we are gone, then we will go with all of those resentments inside of us. So every day you can just forgive people for whatever they've done. Just know that nobody intentionally wanted to hurt you. Nobody did anything untoward towards you with mal intent, and you will feel lighter. There are specific practices which I'm sure you can learn if you're not aware of, and you know that can help. Joy, smiles, and laughter, build that into your day. So find the things which bring you joy and distance yourself from things and people who actually are thieves of your joy. And somebody said earlier, comparison. Comparison is a thief of joy. The moment you start comparing yourself to your, you know, those schoolmates, the people you were studying with in college, oh, look at what they are doing, look at where they are, and look at me, it takes away your joy. So avoid any comparisons. Just be grateful for what we have. We've spoken about huga, the Danish term. Play. Yes, and we forget to play as we grow older. So find the games to play, if not with children, with other adults. You can play card games, you can play board games, join some clubs for senior citizens if you'd like, where people gather and play. And you might say, no, it's not something I enjoy. And that's okay, then don't. But find something which gives you joy. It might be cooking. It might be, you know, learning something new. It could be a musical instrument. So I spoke about the happiness circles, and one of the ladies in our happiness circle, she actually started to learn the piano with her granddaughter. So there is really no age for starting to learn something new. So please do experiment. What will happen? At the most, you will just have fun. And that's fine. You don't need to perform on stage. It's just good to learn. That's it. And now we come to the happy evening. So that was the day. As we wrap up the day, again, important to give gratitude. A lot of us engage in prayers. That's a lovely habit. Do a review of the day. Think about how you spent your day. Think about the nice moments. Don't dwell on what didn't work, what made you sad, because then that will just repeat. Try and journal. If you're going through a tough time, which a lot of us can at many points in time, just find a way of venting it out. And not all of us have access to psychologists or therapists or understanding family members who have time to listen to us. And hence, journaling or writing down really helps. So write down in whatever language. Don't worry about the kind of notebook, the kind of pen. Just write down every day in the evening the good things that happen. And you'll see how better things keep happening every day. If in trouble, ask the universe for help before you sleep. And I know for so many of you, you must be doing it already. I'm just, sharing it from my very limited experience, but it really works. And sleep well. Sleep really helps in making us happy. Sometimes just being silly can make one lighter and happier. Absolutely. It's a big skill and not something which everyone can do. It's definitely important. Learn to do those things. And finally, the shortcut to happiness. It's loving what is. There's a term which is used to describe this. It's called amor fati. Amor fati is nothing but loving what is. So whatever we have, that's the thing. And all our scriptures teach us that, right? Gita and all of these, the Bhagavad Gita. They teach us all these things, but we sometimes forget to practice. If we are grateful for what we have, if we decide to love it, I have a wonderful house, I stay in a wonderful place, I have a wonderful family. There is no reason why you won't be happy. But the moment we start having expectations, we start finding those, things that are missing, we start, going away from our path, which is towards happiness, we spiral down into a state which is then difficult to come back. So, yeah, that's what I have for us today. And I'd love to hear from anyone. If you have any questions, if you have any reflections from what I shared today, anything from your experience, if you feel that this is not practical, it's nice to see, but do you know what's going on in my life? You have no idea. Please do feel free to share in the chat window, and we can talk about it. What could be some of the ways in which we can find happiness? So please feel free to unmute yourselves or share in the chat window, however you'd like to.
It was a very good, comprehensive presentation, Nnaumrata. I am Janaki-Ram. I'm sure you would have considered that there are many events which happen in our life, which may be due to synchronicity or karma or divine grace, and bring people and relationships, and so many ways our life gets transformed. Like, for example, getting introduced to Mom and Isaiah School of Ancient Wisdom more than 20 years back. It was such a huge coincidence and a miracle. So what do you say about such things?
Yeah, I think being able to accept whatever is meant to happen will happen. And if we find something that's happening that is giving us pain and causing us to suffer, remembering that we are loved always by the universe and waiting to find the blessing in it. That's one thing that Buddhism teaches as well, is that the obstacle is the path. This is happening for my higher evolution. If we look at everything in that manner, it helps us move forward. And also remembering the law of impermanence. Nothing is permanent. Even if something really bad has happened in our life, we've lost somebody we loved, or we have been through a very deep kind of a suffering, the moment we remember and say this too shall pass, it's temporary, we will get to the other side of the tunnel. But the moment we forget that, and we forget all these practices like gratitude, prayer, we spiral down. And then, like I said, it's difficult to come. So yeah,
Thank you. Well explained. Thank you.
sharing. Anyone else has any questions?
Nnaumrata, I must add that there seems to be it's not just a coincidence that this month our school magazine, it's called the Torchbearer. The topic is joy and happiness. And we had a song, and the next month's topic will be gratitude. So
Wonderful. That's so wonderful.
your satsang seems to have completely synchronized with the current flow. But thank you. It's very nice. In fact, sometimes I wonder, that nobody teaches us to be happy. Of course, happiness is a natural state, and we forget it as we grow up. But nobody really teaches us how to be happy once again, and you've done that. And in fact, we should additionally have, I feel, some kind of training on how to be a good spouse or how to be a good husband. Nobody prepares us for marriage, so that would be nice. But
Yes.
maybe you could expand your syllabus from happiness to include this too.
Yes, I'm a conscious living coach, so it encompasses everything. So very happy to, share that too. Well, if you'd allow me, I'd love to read out a story. It's from one of my favorite books called Who Ordered a Truckload of Dung? It's written by a Buddhist monk. It's a very short story, but it also goes back to the previous question that Jankiram asked. What happens when we are put in a situation which we had nothing to do with, but something happens in our lives and we have no clue, and all our practices, all our training, everything goes out of the window, such as the pandemic, for example. For so many people it has been very trying. So what do we do? I'll just read this and hopefully we like it. Unpleasant things like coming last in our class happen in life. They happen to everyone. The only difference between a happy person and one who gets depressed is how they respond to disasters. Imagine you have had a wonderful afternoon at the bench with a friend. When you return home, you find a huge truckload of dung has been dumped right in front of your door. There are 3 things to know about this truckload of dung. You did not order it, it's not your fault. Second, you are stuck with it. No one saw who dumped it, so you cannot call anyone to take it away. Third, it is filthy and offensive, and its stench fills your whole house. It is almost impossible to endure. In this metaphor, the truckload of dung in front of the house stands for the traumatic experiences that are dumped on us in life. As with the truckload of dung, there are 3 things to know about tragedy in our life. We did not order it. We are stuck with it. It's an awful thing, a destroyer of our happiness, and its pain fills our whole life. There are 2 ways of responding to being stuck with this. The first is to carry the dung around with us. We put some in our pockets, some in our backpacks and briefcases, some up our shirts, we even put some down our pants. We find when we carry dung around, we lose a lot of friends. Even best friends don't seem to be around so often. Carrying around the dung is a metaphor for sinking into depression, negativity, or anger. It is a natural and understandable response to adversity, but we lose a lot of friends because nobody likes to be around us when we are so depressed. Moreover, the pile of dung doesn't get smaller, and its smell, in fact, gets worse as it ripens. Fortunately, there is a second way. When we get a truckload of dung in front of our house, we heave a sigh of relief and get down to work. Out come the wheelbarrow, the fork, and the spade. We fork the dung into the barrow, wheel it around the back of the house, and dig it into the garden. This is tiring and difficult work, but we know there is no other useful option. Sometimes all we can manage is half a barrow a day, but even so, we are doing something about the problem rather than complaining our way into depression. Day after day, we dig in the dung. Day after day, the pile gets smaller. Sometimes it takes several years, but the morning does come when we see that dung in front of our house is all gone. Furthermore, a miracle has happened in another part of our house. The flowers in our garden are bursting out in a richness of color all over the place. Their fragrance wafts down the street so that the neighbors and even passers-by smile in delight. then the fruit tree in the corner is nearly falling over. It's so heavy with fruit, and the fruit is so sweet, you can't buy anything like it. And there's so much of it that we are able to share it with our neighbors. Even passers-by get a delicious taste of the miracle fruit. Digging in the dung is a metaphor for welcoming the tragedies as fertilizer for life. It is work that we have to do alone. No one can help us here. But by digging it into the garden of our heart day by day, the pile of pain gets less. Perhaps the moral of the story is that if you want to be of service to the world, if you wish to follow the path of compassion, then the next time a tragedy occurs in your life, you may say, whoopee, more fertilizer for my garden. Well, that's the story. So I hope that helps us cope with any adversity that we might be facing. I hope we find ways of being happier than we have been, and we spread that happiness wherever we go. So thank you very much for being here today, and thank you so much for inviting me.
That was a beautiful story, Nnaumrata. It was very, very nice and very inspiring too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nnaumrata. That was really nice. And we look forward to having you at the school. I think you had visited the school the other day.
Yes.
And did say you would like to do some work. So we really would like to have you over there sometime.
Wonderful.
Okay. Are there any more questions, anyone? Any suggestions, comments?
More than anything else,
Yeah, thank you, Nnaumrata, for the dung that turned into flowers and fruits. We really could imagine and feel the flowers and fruits also.
Thank you.
The way you narrated it. Thank you.
Mira, you were saying something?
Yeah, this is a total different take on it. When some deep tragedy hits you, I'm not going to compare it to dung. Something really tragic hits you. I think it's okay not to seek happiness, and I think it's okay to heal your wound, to get over that, not by looking for things to be happy about, but grieving and healing, I think is okay too.
Yes. Absolutely. That's very important, in fact. One of the things that we say is fully feeling what I'm feeling is very healing.
Right.
So it's so important to address those emotions, because if we don't, then the flowers won't grow and they won't blossom into the fruits, which is why he says that day by day, and sometimes it takes years to clear that out. And that is what it is a metaphor for. It's just clearing out all those feelings and coping with. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Absolutely.
Anyone else with any questions?
In fact, I wanted to add one thing to what was just said. This thought occurred to me even when, as the program is being conducted. Essentially, as a soul, we are always, I feel, blissful. That is our essential nature as a soul. But once we are born into this body, we go through these cycles of ups and downs. So, in that sense, from a worldly perspective, it is not possible to be happy all the time, unless one is abnormally, well connected with their higher self. But sometimes I remember reading that even loneliness and sorrow can be a good thing if you see it in that way, because it will bring us very powerfully. It centers us within. It makes us look inward. And if we realize that the disconnect with the outside world could actually be a blessing, where we could grow, then it doesn't seem to be such a bad thing after all. And happiness will come. I think with a good karma, good deeds, it is inevitable. And the happier one is, the more one realizes that. So this lack of happiness may not be a bad thing after all. Though, of course, I want to be happy as long as I could be.
Absolutely. Very well said. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
May
Ramesh.
I add something, please? Ramesh, your little fellow at the back has given us a lot of happiness today.
No,
Yes.
Meher.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Now, do we have any other questions or not?
I think I was seeing a hand being raised by Arun.
Arun, would you like to ask? If that's the case, then I request
Have I
Ramesh to go forward.
unmuted myself?
Okay, go ahead,
Can you
Arun.
hear me? You see, in this software, you can't see yourself. So I don't know whether, yeah, I can see myself now. Okay. Nnaumrata, I only wanted to bring out one factor. We've talked about happiness coming from an environment. So see, the happiness comes in from two factors. One is intrinsic and one is extrinsic.
Yes.
What we spoke a lot was extrinsic, but I personally feel happiness comes from within. It's intrinsic.
Absolutely.
When a child is born, you don't give him happiness, he just laughs on his own. When a child is 5 years old, you don't give him any happiness, he still laughs on his own whenever he's in a mood. Even if you tickle him, he may cry. But when you bollock him, he may smile and run away. That thing lingers on right till the end. So I feel. I am now, I've more than 75 years of experience, getting into 80. I feel that it is intrinsic. I am very happy when I am alone in my room. You said that you are very happy in company. Yes, I am in company, but then at times the company could misfire. Misfire in the sense that company is not what you desire, but the environment has provided you that company. I could be very happy without my wife, but the environment has given me a wife. Does that mean I have a good company? May not be so. I'm not telling you my experience. I'm a widower though, but the point is different. What I'm trying to make out is that happiness comes from within, depending upon your own emotional quotient, your own emotional sentimental balance that you have, and also your physical personality.
Yes.
If you have understood yourself, the aim is to understand yourself. If you understood the universal truth and you understood yourself, very few times would you be really unhappy. I'll give you an example. I was at the cremation grounds. My mother had died. She was 85 or 87 that time. And a very dear friend of mine, a family friend, an Air Force officer, he was also standing there giving me a helping hand. But I found a smile on his face. Everybody else was serious, weeping, tears, wet eyes. He was smiling. After the whole thing finished, after 4, 5, 6 days, वो जब चौथा होता है ना या क्रिया होती है, that is the time I asked him that this was my observation. He says, Arun, there's all the more reason to smile. Every day you were taking her to a doctor. Every day you were having problems. You were talking to people, giving her medicines, getting up at 2 o'clock at night, seeing if she's okay or she's not okay. She has got rid of all those problems and gone and merged with the divine. Isn't that happiness? I said, yes, you are. The point that I was making through this example is that I think happiness is intrinsic. It is our own balance which gives us happiness. Over to you.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I think that is the ultimate objective. Having said that, I think the environment plays a role to the extent it sometimes enables it and sometimes disables it. So if we are intrinsically very happy, but we are in an environment where constantly we are being sent triggers, for example, somebody in Ukraine right now could be very happy sitting at home, but there is bombing going on, their friends, family are suffering. It's difficult to be disconnected because we are so intrinsically interconnected with everything and everyone. So absolutely internal happiness is supreme. We all want to reach the samadhi state where nothing can impact us, but we are all getting there. And in the meantime, the environment plays a role in being an enabler or a disabler. And it is up to us to make a conscious choice. What kind of an environment do we want to create around us and do we want to be in so that we can maintain that state of calm and happiness that gives us peace.
That
So
is an endeavor. That is an endeavor throughout our life. How to
absolutely.
live our life with happiness.
Yes. So it's a
I also think, Nnaumrata, as you said, given the circumstances that we would be in, it's a choice that we make, you know, whether to be happy or not to be happy. I think it's absolutely the choice that we make.
yes. In fact, I think that for many of us, we feel that we don't have a choice about the environment we are in, but we need to remember that everything is a choice. Even if we are in an unhappy environment, we need to understand that it is a choice we have made to be here. And we need to just accept that choice, because in that acceptance, there is peace. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any questions, suggestions, comments? No? Okay, if you have no more questions, then I request Ramesh to kindly propose a vote of thanks, followed by the Loka Samasta.
Thank you, Sajani. As I said earlier, Nnaumrata ji, we can't thank you enough. And who doesn't want to be happy? Sometimes it is really nice to, not sometimes, I think many a time, in fact, it's very nice to revisit different ways and means to be happy. You know, I was just jotting down some notes from what we spoke today, what we heard from you today. You started off with, of course, aging with happiness, and that's something that I must say that I really look forward to aging gracefully. You know, most people may not, but I do. I really do. I admire, especially all my friends who are older, who have, you know, the weight of the world sitting very lightly on their shoulders, who have the joie de vivre, you know, to live each day, the child in them so alive. I really admire them, and I pray that I am that way also as I continue to age gracefully. That is my intention. And I know that as per research, the happy people are generally happiest when they are in their 50s and 60s. That's what I've heard. You know, maybe yeah, 40s, 50s, and 60s, because they kind of sit well within their personality. They're more comfortable with who they are, and they're not so easily disturbed. I'm experiencing that myself now that I'm entering middle age. So what I've you know what I've seen with your program today, of course, it ties up very well with our you know, theme for this month's newsletter, School of Ancient Wisdom. In fact, we even had a happiness song. I hope you all enjoyed it. It was sent, you know, along with the newsletter this month. So when you said what causes unhappiness, it's a very good question to keep asking ourselves every now and then, because you know that kind of helps us snap out of this unnecessary lower consciousness, which is what unhappiness is. So unfulfilled expectations in you know in all the major areas of karma, be it relationship, health, and money, was something that we discussed. And then you spoke about instant happiness solutions, which probably are sensorial experiences which give temporary happiness, but a more long-lasting happiness is something else beyond just the senses. It's generated from within. We spoke about factors affecting our happiness, and that was quite an eye-opener actually, because we don't often identify it like that. And then, of course, the happy morning and the day and the evening, that was very nice. Maybe these are all pointers that we should keep revisiting every now and then, you know, to pull our happiness socks up every day. But I think the message I was left with really is what you said at the end, where you said the shortcut to happiness is loving what is. So as you know, Arunji mentioned, really it comes from within, and you know, it's got to do with your inner ability to keep pulling it out, or ultimately the choice is ours. That is the message that we're left with. So thank you so much for this lovely session. I'm sure it would have been a very pleasant and uplifting experience for all of us. And like I said, you know, we need more people like you around the world who teach us, who remind us what it is to be happy, like we were when we were children. Maybe you could include that thing about marriage and these kind of things, to how to be a good spouse, how to be a good parent, it'll make a big difference, because as we all know, the bedrock of any successful civilization is a happy family. So on that note, in a space of gratitude, which is also the theme for our next month newsletter, and with a great deal of gratitude to what you did for us today. Thank you. That was a very gracious and very kind-hearted, warm and wise presentation that you made. Lovely satsang. So thank you so much, Nnaumrata ji. And thank you all for the lovely participation that we had today. Let us all sit straight for the Loka Samasta, the back, neck, and head aligned. Let us send love to all the places in the world, especially the war-torn, strife-ridden places. Let us send love and healing to all our communities, people who are suffering from the ongoing pandemic or any other issues in life. Let us send love to ourselves too. Let us connect with all those with wisdom. Let us be a channel of the divine as we do this today. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Brahmarpanamastu.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. And kindly join us every Thursday at 6:30. Now, we have the soul of craft in India, someone called Radhi Parikh, very good person, an artist herself, and she will be talking to us next Thursday. So kindly join us at 6:30. Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Good night. And Nnaumrata, once again, a warm thank you from all of us for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.